Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome, Kashi.
Going on, man?
It's good to have you, man. This is a super special case study because, man, what a journey. We've there's just so much that we're going to talk about in this video that I think a lot of people are going to be inspired by. Just a couple key highlights. Kashi at 19 years old, just to confirm from your side. Uh, we've gone from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12K a month fairly consistently as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old to now hitting your first $37,000 a month in commissions in just 90 days working with me inside the Inner Circle program. Is that correct? 37K.
Yeah, just about that.
And to top it all off, I think you mentioned as well you had like a 10K week or something like that this week.
Yeah, so just this week when August started, as of yesterday, I think it was like 10.3K.
Absolutely insane. And for those of you that aren't aware, you can go have a look at the previous interview that I did with Cash in the channel. Not even too long ago, man. Like, how long ago was that? Like 4 or 5 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was like it was this year, I think, or like 4 or 5 months ago, something like that.
Which is which is insane to think about because you've only been in sales for about a year, right?
Yeah, it's actually exactly a year, maybe like 2 days over a year. It's wild.
Which is insane. And that's just some of the highlights, and we have a ton of stuff to cover through this interview. And there's going to be a lot of value that's dropped, and slowly but surely, you've become, one of the top guys in the space. A lot of people look up to. So I think a lot of people really appreciate this interview. But dude, take us way back because I think a lot of people want to hear from your perspective. I'll talk about Inner Circle program and all that type of stuff that we helped you with here in a second. But I'm sure a lot of people want to hear about your story. Take us back, dude. I mean, some guys might know a little bit about from your previous case study interview, but let's go all the way back when you were in door-to-door sales to now.
Oh, dude, maybe even before that. Um,
Yeah.
Before I even got into door-to-door sales, I was literally 17, 18. Um, and I got into one of the top universities in WA in Perth, and it was something that I worked my whole life for. And then I got into there and I realized, oh wow, this really isn't it for me. There has to be more to life than this. And I think at one point I was going through how to start like an online business, and I noticed like all these famous guys saying that you need to learn skills, you need to like let them compound over time. And one of the most important skills that I found was sales. And so I decided, you know what? I don't know what thought went over my mind, but I said, let's go door to door sales. It just popped up out of nowhere. And for those of you guys that have ever been in door to door sales, respect goes out because it was brutal. I was working like 12-hour days. It was like hot as well. So yeah, I was just walking in the sun and I pretty much made zero sales in like my first couple weeks or so. But I think that really
Mm.
built me because I eventually rose to the top. Um, and so yeah, and then out of door to door sales, I went into the remote sales space and then everything changed.
And so walk us through that because I mean, we were joking about this on an Inner Circle call once, and we've had a couple of conversations about it since. So you tried making money online and you'd also been through door-to-door sales. And then what was from there? Like, how did we actually meet in the first place?
Yeah, that's actually, it's really funny looking back now because I remember I just quit door to door, and I thought I was going to go back to university. I thought, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. And I was sitting in my car. It was literally the night after I left my sales role, and I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw this Aussie bloke with a couple hundred views on his YouTube channel,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
started to click on it, and I was like, oh, what's this all about? And I think I just went down a rabbit hole of watching your stuff, and you weren't like anything crazy back in the day, like which is very authentic, straight to the point. And then I said, you know what, I'm just booking a call, whatever. I wasn't even planning on showing up to it, to be honest, because I booked it the night before. I think I booked it for like 6 a.m. in the morning. And
Mm.
so I slept that night. And you called me the morning just to confirm that I had the links and everything was set up at like 5:30. And I just woken up and you said, hey bro, are you hopping onto the call? And me being the skeptical 18-year-old, huge ego, I was like, nah, not really, dude. I don't think this is the right fit for me, saying every excuse under the book pretty much. And then you said something which I'm forever grateful for, because imagine if it didn't happen. You're like, what's the
Mm.
worst thing that can happen, Kashi? I was like, you know what, you're right. What's the worst thing that can happen? So I got out of my bed, she washed my face and sat down on the call. And then yeah, dude, everything changed from there. Like you pushed me to make an uncomfortable decision that I've never done in my life. And most people
Mm.
will be like, oh, what the hell? I don't want to be pushed. I don't want to be out of my comfort zone. But I think I'm forever grateful for that. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like that's scary looking back. What if I just didn't hop on the call? I would have just gone to university. I would have just worked a 9 to 5. Um, yeah, life would be a lot different just from that one moment.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't aware, you were doing an engineering degree at the time, right?
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was a really good engineering degree. It's something
Mm.
that I worked really hard for during high school.
It's pretty crazy to look back in reflection because, and a lot of guys actually reach out to me saying that they watched your previous interview as well, and they're like, I was studying engineering, or I'm studying engineering, or I'm studying some type of university degree that I know I'm never going to use. And I'm just studying because my parents told me to. And I think that's what's going to make me successful. And I felt the exact same way. I was actually telling a friend when I went for dinner with him last night, actually, about how my parents just wanted me to go to university just for 1 year. And I said, absolutely not. Like, I didn't want to waste that time doing so. And how do you think you feel after taking that step, going from doing what you were doing to doing what you're doing now? Like comparison to salary wise, like what would that actually look like if you were doing that before as opposed to like being in sales?
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere close. Even if I worked till I was 7 years old, I wouldn't have got to where I am today with that engineering degree. No matter what engineer I was, I wouldn't have got there. So that puts that into context. And in terms of like the university degree, you mentioned something about like parents. You mentioned like
Mm,
going down a traditional path. And I get a lot of messages like that as well, especially from the last video. A lot of you guys reached out and asking the same thing. And I think it comes down to this. It was dark. It was tough. It was really tough. So I
yeah.
just dropped it, and just told my parents. And it was rough. It wasn't pretty, right? So I just locked
Hmm.
myself in and I had to make it work. And for the next 6 months, I just dialed in. That's when I did my first interview, um, like a couple months back. So yeah, it
Mm,
was a rough period. It was very dark, but it has to be done.
yeah.
If my parents were compliant, and they didn't make me go there, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm forever grateful for that as well. All these things happen for a reason. It made me realize I have to go against everyone. I have to actually back myself. I have to make sure that I do the same inputs no matter what's going on around me. Those are the lessons
Mm,
that I learned from those dark times. But at the time, of course, I thought the whole world was against me, which isn't
yeah,
true.
exactly right. Well, I mean, it can feel that at times, especially when you're trying to make money online and again, your parents don't support you, your friends have no idea what you're doing. They think you're in an MLM or a pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
Although you
exactly.
try to explain to them you're just in sales. It's very hard for people to wrap their mind around, wrap their head around that you can make a few $100s to $1,000 a sales call, which would break anyone's mind,
Yeah.
realistically, like really. But all that aside, so walk me through. So you joined the training program, you jumped in, then what? What was the next step? What happened from there?
Yeah, I mean, I was super nervous because I've never invested in myself in my life. So I was still very nervous, but then I landed a role within like 2 days. So that kind of calmed the nerves straight away.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it wasn't the greatest of all offers. It was something that I just wanted to do. But I'm actually that offer that I hopped on, I'm actually really good friends with the founder now, still to this day. So
Mm,
that was a really good experience. And he taught me a lot of things, just learn about business, made some money on the side. But that entire time, I was just focusing on learning skills. I think that's what kind of set me apart from other
mm,
people coming in. Like, of course, I wanted to make the money online, but I knew the money will come. I just wanted to focus on the skill set. And yeah, I was just super curious when I hopped on those offers. And then after that, initially I rejected all the training coming from RSA because I had no clue what the training actually looked like in other places, right?
yeah.
It's only once I hopped on offers, I see all the other sales training out there that I always just come back to the RSA because, yeah, like you're always right. It makes sense. It's just everything that's summarized into one because you've already done it yourself. And now that I've
Mm.
actually personally seen it, I see where you're coming from.
Can you expand more on that? Because for a lot of newbies as well, hearing that, they might not be too sure on what you mean. So you've seen what's out there. You've worked on a few different offers that are like competitors of mine specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much seen it all at this point. So
Mm,
I've invested into myself multiple times in other programs. I've done sales training. I've seen all the sales training. At the end of the day, what RSA and like what you've done in the RSA is your own investments, which is what, like over 100 grand now. Like, I mean, at the time it was still 100 grand from what I remember. Everything that you've learned in like 3, 4 years combined into one. Like, it's not like some one sales training type of thing. It's everything, all the good parts, all summarized. Because a lot of people get overwhelmed with all these sales tactics. That's
mhm,
why I used to follow this one specific sales training and I realized how bad it was. And then I do another training and I realized how bad that was. And then I look at the RSN, decide to open up the videos and actually watch it. And I was like, oh wow, this literally just solved every issue I was thinking of because it's all summarized into one.
mm. Which is really interesting you say that. Yeah, now it's 55K directly into sales training, but holistically on different coaches and different things over the years, probably 200 something
Yeah.
around that range. So it's general understanding from a mindset point of view and perspective, but it's also just experience in the industry. You can't beat that. Where I see a lot of these guys, as I like to joke all the time, call them marketers in the
Yeah.
industry, which is like 98% of people that are out there, I would
Yep.
label as marketers. As I talk about all the time, there absolutely are some cool people out there in the space in high ticket sales that can generally help people and are solid people and have done the rounds in the industry. They've been in the trenches, but it's very far and few in between. And it's very important as a beginner to see through the bullshit and actually understand that you want to work with someone with experience and who's been there and done that. Not just saying that they have, not just again saying that they made 30K in 1 month and all this other type of stuff, but like actually demonstrating capability in a long style format. Because that's what I see very few people doing, at least helping beginners wise. I don't know if you've seen yourself, but there's very few people out there like that that take you from zero, never making money online, to 10. Like there's very few people that I've seen out there.
Yeah, 100%. Most people fail. Like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, 98% are marketers. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized that as soon as I joined. I mean, I was considering so many things before I hopped on the call with you.
Mm.
Um, glad I didn't go down that route. Let's just say that. Looking at them after.
But the thing
Don't want to
is,
say any
like
names.
yeah, no, yeah. Luckily, I'm not the type of guy to name drop. It's just not who I am. But uh, it seems like they're good though, and I know
Yeah.
this because I fell for, you know, the was which my first mentor. I fell for the tricks. I fell for the flashy marketing, all this other type of stuff, and there will always be people that fall for that. But the type of people that I want to work with and why we get such great results is because we work with great people who already know that this is going to be difficult, that it's not going to be overnight, and I'm not using the money that I get from my clients to invest into a rented Lambo to then attract more clients. But again, it takes a long time for a lot of young guys to see through that and understand that results over marketing is a very, very important thing to prioritize.
Oh yeah. 100%. The rented Lambo is like it's a classic one, right? It's everywhere. It personally just didn't appeal to me. I always knew it was gonna be hard, and you kept it real from the start. What's even funnier is the exact goals that we set on the call and your expectation that you set for me. We hit all of them. Um, and it's not just coming from me. Like I've talked to everyone, like in terms of like sales reps, like I'm pretty connected now in the space, like knowing all the killers, knowing all the beginners as well. And they all say that Connor Healy's the one guy that kept it real. Because you kept it real with me, like, dude, it's gonna be a lot of hard work. It's gonna take you 6 months to a year. It's not like a 90-day get rich quick scheme. It's gonna
Hmm.
require skills, income. It's not a passive income source. And so yeah. And a lot of people had the same idea as well, even people that weren't in your program, just from the people inside the RSA spreading the word. And I see in people inside the RSA everywhere now. Um, like on all these different offers, all the different side of things. It's crazy to see like they all come from one thing, which is RSA. Like that's what I found anyway.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. I think I can give all the strategy and all that type of stuff and the experience, but where a big part of our results come from is having the right expectations. Because I didn't have the right expectations at all. I was told I was going to make $200,000 a year in my first 3 months in high ticket sales. That's what I was told, and I genuinely
That's crazy.
believed it. But I was in for a very rude awakening where the next 2 years I spent going from offer to offer, learning actual sales skills, struggling to kind of piece together. And I think it's funny because Vanch on one of the coaching calls, so shout out to Vanch if he's watching this. Uh, I was talking about the trials and tribulations I've gone through to know what I know now to teach you guys. And he's like, Connor truly thugged it out for us to like teach us back at the end of the day. Cause like the amount of offers that I had to go through to actually figure this stuff out, like years and multiple five figures in sales skills to figure out the stuff that we're going to cover in this interview, which is the key takeaways, which you guys should be listening for later on. But that stuff aside, so you got your first offer. It wasn't very good. You learned a little bit. What was the next thing that happened from there? How much money were you making? What was the next step from there?
Yeah, I think literally my first month I was on a really bad offer before that and I think I made $600, didn't even get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on another offer and I think I made like a grand for the month. And that was, I'm really good friends with him now forever, like grateful to him. Um, and then I hopped on one of the offer that changed it all for me, which was with an entrepreneur that's from my city as well, in person.
Mm-hmm.
And he was seven figures at the time. So yeah, that really changed everything for me. Um, Started off the first thing, like I think the first week I hopped on the offer, I went to meet him in person as well in Perth, and that's really when like my whole reality shifted because I've always been in Perth and seen normal guys around me. I've never been at that point where I've seen someone actually doing $1 million in my life
Yeah.
properly, like online, straight profit. I haven't seen that before. And so I remember when we went there, I was waiting down at the apartment. And I was thinking, oh my God, no, how am I going to act? How am I going to do this? I can't be rude or anything. Or what am I going to wear? And he walked out just like a normal dude, like a normal dude in like a white shirt. I think it was like Zara pants or something. It was so casual. He just gave me a big hug, and I was like, dude, no way. Like that's when my whole reality shifted. Like he showed me his whole apartment. It showed me everything. So
Mm,
yeah, that just changed, and really good friends with them now as well. So it's
yeah.
crazy looking back.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't specifically drop his name, but he's obviously a good friend of mine. And yeah, a lot of beliefs can be broken, right? And that's what I try to do with a lot of you guys inside the RSA training program, in general, is that I don't pretend to be anyone that I'm not. I don't try to put on this facade for the camera or anything like that. I'm just generally me and how I am. And a lot of people will project these beliefs that really successful people are just aliens and they're just super special and so on. So, but when you have these experiences, like the conversations we've had, like when you met, a good mutual friend there, um, it breaks so many beliefs because then you realize that people that are really successful, rich, all that type of stuff are just like you and me. There's literally zero difference.
Yeah, nothing at all.
Yeah, which is mind blowing because a lot of the guys that will be listening to us, because I know a lot of beginners watch my channel as well. It's obviously who I help. And you look at guys like myself and other successful people online, and you imagine that they're going to be perfect. Like they have no problems. They're just born out of the womb and they're successful. Kashi started from scratch. Kashi started from zero. I started from zero. And if you're watching this too, there's no reason that you can't do this too. Everything that you see online, the lifestyle all these guys have, for the majority of what you're seeing, a lot of it's fake at the end of the day. It really is. Like I even saw we joked about as well about a guy, again, not name dropping, but
Not name
who
dropping.
came to Dubai specifically to go rent out a couple Lambos. and then recorded content with it and then left for
It's
like
wild, man. It's wild.
marketing his program, right? And people will buy into that, which is super crazy. But anyways, that's a whole nother can of worms. So coming back to when you met our mutual friend here, you had a lot of beliefs that were changed. You were making how much per month on that offer?
Yeah, so a lot of beliefs change, and at first he bro he taught me everything. Yeah, a lot of stuff I learned there, not just about like sales and that side of things, but just in general about business. I learned pretty much everything I know. Like the
Mm,
foundations were just from that, putting in the reps, spending a lot of one-on-one time with him, like 12 hours a day. I was just learning continuously for 6 months, and that's what
mm,
got me to 10 grand a month on that offer itself.
yeah. And so you were making 10K a month at 18 years old.
Yeah, and that was in December was when I hit my first ever, like right after we filmed that video when I hit 7 grand. The month
Yeah.
after that, I hit 12K in December, and that's when my whole reality shifted. Like I was like, oh damn, it's possible. And I always had that figure in my mind, 10 grand a month, 10
Mm,
grand a month, 10 grand a month. And then
yeah.
once you hit it, you go, okay, what's next? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
next goal? What's the next goal post? And we talk about this a lot in inner circle and the conversations we have with I guess a nice tight knit group we've got going on there. But for those that are listening and watching, you need to understand that 10K a month as a goal will probably be one of the hardest things that you do in your life. And not from a physical work point of view, because I think a lot of that comes relatively easy, just from my perspective. I think it's pretty easy that if you know that you're going to get somewhere, putting in 10, 12-hour days and being obsessive, I think you should expect that. But it's more or less from the mental perspective, from that 0 to 10 is the most difficult thing. I talk about the concept of the belief mountain all the time because it's so difficult to scale that mountain and scale that summit. But once you get there, your life will completely change because then you believe it's possible. You know how to get there. You know how to walk there. And you probably notice as well, once you hit that first 10K month, it's almost like impossible to go beneath it.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like
it is.
a, a financial thermostat that you set. And I've noticed this from 10K a month, 20, 30K, all the way up to six figures, right? Once you set that benchmark with yourself, you know that you can do it. You know that it's possible. So to replicate it, it doesn't matter if it's this business model, if it's sales or whatever. You know that it's out there. You know it exists. That's your new standard. You know what's possible. And so this journey from 0 to 10, in my mind, is a very special journey to help, guys like yourself with and everyone in the community because such a transformative experience and journey. But once you achieve it, that's when things really start to change. You start worrying less about money, right? What did that look like for you? I know we've talked about in the past how we didn't have the best financial literacy, and that's okay. But like,
Yeah.
what 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 was it like? You're making 10K a month. What kind of changed financially for you? Like, what did that like? What was different there?
Oh, dude, everything changed. Everything
Mm,
changed. Like that's the best way I can put it. I didn't really have good financial literacy. I'll get to that in a second. But right
mm,
after I hit 10 grand a month in December, I think the month after that, I went on a 3 month hiatus just around Asia making money. And that's really when everything shifted as well because you realize that you can pretty much do whatever you want, whenever you want, and meet whoever you want. At that
mm,
time for me, right? That's all I wanted, and I was
yeah.
really comfortable. I could just go spend a couple hours. I went with a couple of boys in the RSA itself, so that was really cool. Some close friends that are still close to this day, and yeah, I went around Asia. I went on my own a couple of times. So it was just that ability that I could just fly anywhere, like the next day, and I don't have to worry about anything at all. And especially when you go into countries like Asia, for example, like 10 grand a month's a lot of money there, even in Australia. Um, and I was still living with my parents. So I had no rent, nothing. And I was like in this little dungeon right here, just collecting cash. So for me,
Mm,
nothing really changed, but I had like way more like security. I didn't have to worry about money at all. Like money wasn't on my mind at that time.
interesting.
It was just about traveling, buying whatever I wanted. Um, and that's what it was for me at the time. Like I think I spent less and less, like as the time
Mm,
goes on, like the material things anyway.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, at that time I was buying like clothes, traveling. I didn't have the greatest financial literacy, so I bought like a bunch of stuff for my setup and didn't think about saving at all. But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't have that when I was growing up. Like my parents weren't
Mm,
the most financially literate people on the planet. Like they were really, really hardworking. Like they brought me up, but
yeah.
it's only when I surrounded myself with like-minded people that I
Yeah.
understood how important it is to actually understand finance and know how to manage your finances. So yeah, it was a
Hmm.
lot of money. Like at 18, making 10 grand a month. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
And
Yeah,
that
so,
totally makes sense, dude. And like a lot of the guys listening would have the exact same experience. And I'm only lucky and grateful that my parents, just by sheer proximity, I learned financial literacy from a very young age. And it's not something that a lot of people talk about, which is like a
mm,
lifestyle creep. Because again, a lot of beginners may not have this problem, but once you start making a bit of money, if you start increasing your lifestyle expenses with it, that puts you in a really sticky situation. Like the amount of people that I've met online, whether it's high ticket sales or they run some other type of business model, having the financial literacy to go, okay, let me just put some into my savings instead of spending everything every single month. That's a very valuable skill that not a lot of people actually talk about. But I see a lot of youth in that, and a lot of younger guys with lacking life experience will just go and invest in, oh, sorry, just spend their money on different things and not have their priorities in the right places. Like I was actually reviewing a call for Naveed yesterday, and he was on a call with a prospect where the program that Naveed was pitching was, I think, 50, it's like 4,800, something like that.
yeah, 5,800. Yeah.
Yeah, you know it because you sell it. Um, and the prospect said he was prioritizing a new transmission for his car and a laptop repair and all this other type of stuff that was the same price of admission for the training program. He was like 19, 20 years old, something like that. And so he was prioritizing stuff that could be fixed later as opposed to his very pressing life situation that he's had at hand. I won't go too much in the details, but pretty serious. And he needed to do something different and we needed to make a change. But he was prioritizing stuff that could be fixed later as opposed to investing in his skills, investing into a business, these types of things, so he could change the situation for the future. And I think a lot of young people, and again, I say this being 23 years old, but a lot of young people, 18, 19, 20, lack a lot of long-term thinking of what is it actually going to look like in the next 6 months to a year, 2 years, 3 years. That time goes by very, very, very fast. And I can tell, like we've spoken about in the past, I feel like I was 19 just yesterday. Like those years just went by so quick, and I literally just blinked and now I'm 23, right? So I think as an important lesson for a lot of the younger guys watching is think a little bit more longer term. Definitely work on your financial literacy skills because it'll very, very highly serve you in the longer term so that when you do earn good money, you don't end up losing it all. And if you don't have a lot of money right now, you can become a little bit more smart with your money, invest into yourself, your skills, like you mentioned earlier, and focus on while you're young develop a good solid base so that no matter what you do, you're going to have monetizable skills you can always return back to. Cash could go back to zero next month and he'd be fine because he knows how to sell, he knows how to find good offers, he knows how to vet them, screen them, he knows where to find them in the right communities. These skills will serve him for the rest of your life. And I think a lot of younger guys, they think, what are the skills I can build now at a young age so I can make sure that I'm not unemployable in the future. AI is coming in the door. That's always scaring a lot of people. What skills can you build now so your future is a lot more recession proof, a lot more diversified, if that makes sense?
Mm. Yeah. No, that's actually something that I find really important that even like people that were in my space didn't really think about.
Mm.
Like the reason I got into it wasn't really for the money side of things, to be honest. I knew the money would come and I always had that long-term thinking. Like I was thinking kind of 10 years in advance, like where do I want to be? I've always thought like that. And so it
Mm,
comes down to, I think, three skills. And I think you mentioned this to me as well, Connor. But the ones I knew for sure were sales and marketing. I know that's the fundamental of any business. I need to learn those two and master those two, right?
mm,
And then I found out from you yourself that you need to do fulfillment. You know how to be a leader. So those are the other two skills that I think are super important. I wouldn't change anything if I had to go back to learn the skills because, yeah, I've
yeah.
pretty much learned all of them just by being in sales and just being in the online space. Because you're literally going in and you're seeing how the behind the curtains work of seven figure, eight figure, nine figure offers if you play your cards right.
You get the beliefs of the business owners that you work with. You understand how they think. You get to break those beliefs as well, like of, that rich, successful people aren't any different from you or I. They're just hardworking people that have discipline, dedication, and focus. Um, you you break so many beliefs, you learn so many skills by sheer proximity, and that's exactly what I did. And it's what I encourage a lot of younger guys to do because as opposed to starting your own business from scratch, which is where I see a lot of people make a big mistake, is like trying to run a marketing agency when you're a 19, 20-year-old kid. Is it
Yeah.
possible to be successful with it? Maybe a couple years ago, yeah, it would have been a lot easier, and it is still possible today. But with the competition in the space, it's incredibly difficult to do so. You're in a player versus player marketplace. You're competing with people with years of experience. I can tell you from, again, experience, all my friends have six-figure a month agencies, multi-seven-figure agencies. They've all been doing it for years. They have the case studies, they have the experience, they have the team, they have the capital, they have the sales skills,
Yeah.
which you don't have. So, like, in my opinion, the best thing to do as a young person, if you're listening to this, is really focus on developing those skills so that when you want to run your business, because Cashy wants to run his own business in the future, as most people probably do as well, we understand that sales is not a forever thing. It's just a vehicle to get to the next stage.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I coach are very motivated individuals and they don't settle with just taking calls all day the rest of their life, which is perfectly understandable. So 95% will want to move on to the next stage, which we'll talk about here in a second of the inner circle and why I've created it and how that's related. But you you're working on that offer with our mutual friend there, seven figures, multi seven figure company. And then you came to me and you said, bro, I want to do more. I want to do something different. Do you have anything that's available? Do you have anything that I can do that's the next step? Let's move from there.
Yeah, that was a funny story as well. All these things happen so randomly, when I look
Mm,
back at it. But I mean, for me, I already invested in you, and I've never found a better coach, and I've already looked elsewhere, and I didn't find anything close to what it is in the RSA in terms of support
mm,
and one-on-one, and actually having a genuine interest in helping me. And so I
mm,
knew I wanted to get to the next level, which is like 20, 30K a month. And then I reached out to you and I was like, hey, dude, what can you do to get me to the next level? Like, happy to do whatever. Like, even if you told me, dude, it's like 50K or like 20K, 30K, like I would have done it, to be honest, because like the value is insane. I can't think of a better investment at that time. And I remember you told me, like you gave me a whole breakdown of what you could possibly offer me to get to the next level. I didn't even have to
mm,
think twice. I didn't even have to do a call. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm in. Just drop the link.
mm,
And just signed up straight away. So yeah, it's crazy to go from a sales call, back in July where I had all the fear in my mind, all the limiting beliefs to just dropping a link through text. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It was
mm,
like that at that moment, I was like, oh damn, that's crazy because I just broke all the limiting beliefs I've had about actually
mhm.
investing in myself. Now, of
Yeah,
course, given it was a lot easier knowing that I actually got the results, but
yes.
it was still a lot of money for me at the time.
Absolutely. And the big thing that a lot of guys come to me for, like, because a lot of people have joined the program after seeing your interview as well. Like, they're inspired, they're motivated by your results because to achieve what you have at a young age, it is really inspiring and it is really, really cool. And I can say I'm very proud of you as a coach, because, yeah, you've achieved some amazing things and I can give you all the tools, but you really put in the work. So that is really amazing. But the reason I referenced that is because uh, yeah, a lot of people came to me telling me they were inspired with your results. I can't remember where I was going with that actually. Um, Remind me, what were you talking about? You were talking
I was
about,
saying investing in myself again. That it was like it broke all my limiting beliefs because I
right.
already saw. Yeah.
I remember. So a lot of guys come to me and sometimes I have doubts. And I'm like, bro, I got to tell you, to have someone who's gotten results with someone in the make money online space, there is nothing better that you can do there. Like, you have someone that you know personally that has gotten results with me. That is so rare to have, so rare to have. Um, when you go and look at other coaching programs, you're taking a risk that what they're saying is going to be true and it's going to be good. Uh, the amount of people that come from other training programs, competitors training programs that initially thought it was going to be good, they were guaranteed placement. They were told all the special things. They were
Yeah.
given all the bells and whistles. They were told, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, and it's going to be great. And they also get so indoctrinated into working with that coach. They think that the coach is the guy. They don't know any better. They're a beginner. They're not very experienced. Yet they come to watch my YouTube channel, say they're getting a ton of value from it. And my immediate response is, dude, if you're getting value from my YouTube channel, why are you not watching the course that you've paid five, six, $10,000 for? Absolutely blows my mind.
Blows my mind too. You're not wrong. It blows my mind, man. Like, and I've had this happen as well. Same thing that you just mentioned, where people see my results. They started at the exact same time as me in
Mm-hmm.
July last year, and I've gotten to here, and they haven't even done step one. And then they
Mm-hmm.
see my results because they literally we talked at the same time. We were both at zero, and we hopped
Yeah.
on all these calls, and I was in the exact same position as them, if not worse. And then they go, "Oh, I'm going to give it a shot now." Well,
Yeah.
I think that mindset is fundamentally broken because
Mhm.
if you're gonna wait on the sidelines and watch someone build their dream up and then you're gonna build your dream, I think that's just broken. Like, because that means you don't have it within yourself to actually get to where you want to be. Like, you just have no purpose. Like, you need to have that discipline and that mindset to just go all in, even in the uncertainty. Otherwise, you won't make it. Like,
Mhm.
if I didn't go all in the uncertainty, I didn't really know anyone when I was joining the RSA. Like, I didn't really have anything to go look at. But that uncertainty and me pushing through that has helped so much today to get to the next level. Because it won't last if you just rely on motivation, rely on information, and rely on other people doing it. You have to have it
Mhm.
within yourself to go all in because it's going to be hard. It's going to be scary. And that's why when most people ask me, should I get into the online space? I say no because I don't think it's for everyone. Um,
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
it really isn't. Like, I'm sure you feel the same, right? Like, a lot of people
Yes.
ask, oh, how do I start my own business? I'm like, dude, honestly, I don't think you should. I think you should
Yep.
just chill where you are because
I agree.
it's just not worth it for a lot of people. And they don't have it in them to actually go all in uncertainty. Like, people can't
Mm.
even control their own hands, right?
Yeah.
So let alone
I
their
mean,
mind.
there's two things to say on that. Number one is a lot of people will think that you're lucky, right?
Yeah,
This is what a lot of people pin. Connor's lucky, Cash is lucky. All the case studies on, Connor's YouTube channel, they're all lucky. All the people that make money online, they're lucky.
lucky.
They're not lucky. Maybe 10% of it has to do with luck, but 90% of it is to do with strategy and effort. That's it.
100%.
Um,
I don't even think it's 90%. I think it's like 95%. Because, like, if you do the hard work, luck will follow you. Like, it's just how it is. Like, it favors you when you think about it. If you do 12 hours a day for a year straight, and the only thing you think about is getting to that next level, it just happen. And I think you brought that thought to me, and it just made so much
mhm.
sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so you're making 10 to 12K a month. You made that plunge with me again. You decided to trust me and think that I have a little bit of an understanding of what I'm talking about. And so, what was the advice that I gave you then? So, before I hadn't had what was now classed as the RSA inner circle, and I'll briefly explain that just for those of you that are unaware, because not I haven't really talked about this too much. Even a lot of students have asked me about what it is. So, I'll give you a blurb of what it's about now. I saw a lot of the guys in the RSA, they'd get to 10K a month, they'd be making six figures a year, crushing it, and they would go, Connor, what's the next step? And what they would do is they'd go, well, the logical next step from what I can see is just to invest into more sales training. And inherently, I don't see anything wrong with that. But the problem that I've seen across the board is that people think that the magic bullet is going to be the mentor that they get, and the more money they spend is going to be equivalent to the more money they make. And while that's good in theory and good in principle, what I've observed, and we've had multiple discussions about this, is that sales trainers want to sell you sales training, period. Right? Everybody knows who my mentors have been, and I'm very grateful for them to getting to where I am now. But I talk about this story quite often. Back at the time, yes, I've spent 55K now, but back at the time, I'd spend 40. And I was sitting there on a coaching call with a guy who made 1 million in straight commissions in 2020, one on one. We were coaching on objection handling. This is like 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. And I just looked around me and I was like, dude, I can't figure out why these guys who don't work as hard as me, they haven't invested the same amount of money on sales training as I have. I know that I'm better. You tell me I'm better than them, but they're making 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of commissions that I'm making. How is this even possible? I just don't get it. And he said, dude, it's your offer. It's 1,000% your offer. And that for me took the veil, I guess, off my eyes. And I kind of realized after, 3 or 4 years that it's actually 80% to do with your offer. Like that's where a lot of the leverage comes from, a lot of the results come from. A lot of these sales trainers are very good and convincing of telling you otherwise, right? You're a bitch if you don't do this sales training, or you're a pussy, or whatever, like
Yeah.
whatever it is that they want to say, right? Or they cast shame on you, like you're an idiot if you don't do this sales training, right? And a lot of the young guys I see buy into uh that narrative, and they end up spending $18,000, $20,000 plus on sales training they didn't need in the first place. While I kind of want to give some context there, like I mentioned, there's nothing inherently wrong with investing in sales training. But from what I've seen, a lot of the stuff out there is regurgitated stuff of the same people, right? And again, understand that sales trainers are incentivized to sell you sales training. So they're going to purposely have a process in place to slow down your progress to ensure that you keep buying sales training because that's their business. And I understand that. But it took me a long time to really get that. And I see a lot of the guys inside the RSA falling for it. I see a lot of the guys in other programs falling for it. And I pulled you to the side and I was like, hey, dude, like, you got to understand it is your offer. Like, that is where the leverage is going to come from. And I don't want to just speak from my perspective, but your experience. What was your recollection of our conversation that we had of what I told you? You RSA in a circle and we mapped it out. You're like, I want to make 30 grand a month. It's like, all right, what did I tell you from there?
Yeah, I still remember that because I say the same thing to people now. I said I wanted to make 30 grand a month. And you're like, yeah, but dude, why do you want to actually hit 30 grand a month? That hit me hard. So I didn't have a proper answer. And you kept probing me for it, and I didn't have an answer. I was like, I don't know. Why do I want to hit 30 grand a month? So yeah,
Mm,
of course it's the offer that matters as well. And you broke it down to me. I can't do it in the offer I'm on. Right? Like I physically can't. So it's either I increase my sales training and increase my commissions, or I find another offer. Those are the two options. And it just made sense to find another offer. But at the time, it didn't click for me. And I think I know why. It's because you said, why do you want to hit 30 grand a month? So at the time I was traveling, I was comfortable.
mm,
And most people, they just get in their own head. Oh, I make 10 grand a month at 18. Oh, I make 10 grand a month at 19. And they just settle for that for months. And so that's why I think I wasn't open to the idea at the time. Like I consciously acknowledged it, but I was like, oh, yeah, I'll think about it later, the offer part. And then I finally found why I actually wanted to hit 30 grand a month. So it took a lot, a lot of months of thinking and thinking.
mm.
And then I actually decided I came back to Perth. So I came back from my trip and that's when I just locked in and decided, yeah, it's all offer. And I just went ham with all the networking, the RSA, everything that you taught me. Obviously it worked because clearly it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everything, man. Like I have full proof, full screenshots of just landing offer after offer, smashing out interviews, smashing out group interviews. Um, People saying it was like the best interview they've ever had with a sales rep, just because you've already gone through the whole process yourself. And I remember you telling me all the stories of you landing offers,
Mm,
that people would dream of.
yeah, exactly right. And something I want to highlight on, and it's not to make you feel stupid in any way, but we've talked about it in so many different conversations.
Yeah,
It always comes back to the same thing.
it does.
Connor was right every single time, right? Um,
It's like a
I,
mantra now.
yeah, I want you to kind of talk on your experience of that because all my top students, Rahul said the same thing. It always comes back to the same stuff because something that I've been super frustrated with more recently is a lot of guys that I coach, even though they'll come in the training program, they won't listen to me and they'll do the complete opposite. Or they'll get results, right? Which again, I understand you're young, you make an 8, 10K a month, and now you think that you're king of the world, which I understand that and I get that. And then it's I'm now the lecturing dad of the group. I'm the lecturing uncle. No, 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 guys, you got to do it this way. No, 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 Connor, I think I know best. I'm gonna go do what I want to do. And then you eventually find out that I have no incentive to tell you otherwise. I want you to get results. I don't have a $15,000 sales training to sell you. I don't have all this other grandiose stuff incentivized to tell you to do the wrong thing. I only want you to get results. I actually care about you being successful. And I only tell you something that I would actually want you to do. I'm not going to just say it for the fun of it. Like, I think you've talked about your experience having this multiple times, but can I just hear from your perspective what that's been like every single time? What I've said has come true like months later, even if you didn't accept it at the time.
It's happened so many times. I can't even count. Like Connor's always right. It's just it's stuck in my head. I don't know the things that you say now, it'll come right like a couple months from now.
Mm,
I think it's very hard for me to just think of something and like subconsciously accept it. Like I accept it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you're right. But I don't go like, oh yeah, he's right till a couple months later. So for example, when you mentioned Kashi, bro, you're getting comfortable, man. You're making 10 grand a month at 18. It's a lot of money. Traveling the world. You need to get to that next level. Like, yeah,
mm,
kinda, kinda. And it was only a couple months later when I looked back and you were like, it's all offer, bro. It's all offer. And it just clicked. And I did it. I'm like, oh, Connor's right. It's all
mm,
networking, man. The amount of people that don't think networking is important, it blows my mind. But it's all networking, man. It's all reputation. And that again clicked because I had the results right in front of me. And even
mm,
you saying like you have to have a purpose. Like, why do you want to hit 30 grand a month? Like, why do you want to hit it? That hit a couple months later. That was also right. Um, yeah, it's just always been right. I can't think of a time where you've told me something important and it hasn't become right. That's not even me exaggerating. Like, that's actually true when we think about it.
mm. Yeah. And I think a lot of the students as well still get surprised that I'm actually pretty decent at sales. Like, I know it's crazy to think, but like a lot of people think that I sold for like a year or maybe two and only sold like one or two offers. It's like, no, 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 I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been selling plus different offers. I've sold my own for over a year. Um, a lot of the younger guys again think shiny object syndrome. I can go get this here. I can go do this training, which again is all great. I support getting more training, but the guys end up confusing themselves and delaying their progress significantly. I'm sure you've probably seen that across the board. It's like, no, 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 I gotta go listen to this. Oh, no, 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 I gotta sell this way or sell this way or whatever. It's just all distractions, right?
Yeah. Oh, like, yeah, I've actually a lot to say on that, to be honest. I've just never been that guy, not just with you, with any offer I've been on. I'd never
Mm,
forget where I came from. Like, dude,
mm,
you're the one who pushed me to make an uncomfortable decision, broke my limiting beliefs, and got me from 0 to 10K. A lot
mm.
of people just hit 10K and they're like, oh, Connor's bad. I'm just gonna go to someone else. That just makes no sense to me. That just
Yeah.
ruins all my morals that I've ever grown up with. So yeah, I've just never been that guy. Like I was forever grateful. And I was like, makes sense, dude. He got me to where I am today. How can I think I'm better than him or something? Like clearly he knows what he's talking about. Because I was at absolute zero when I spoke to him.
Yeah. exactly right. Like, I mean, I'm eternally grateful for my first mentor, and everything that he's told me to do, I just do blind faith. I just trust him because he took me from ground zero. Like I had no idea what I was doing, and I just again trust him blindly, which is a whole other thing that I really wanted to highlight on because I know we'll probably watch this video, and it's super important just to if you've got something that works, just do it and don't try and derail yourself and do all these other random things just because you feel like it's going to be right. Understand that I'm a very rare principal. I'm not some grandiose guy or whatever, but I've just been doing this a whole lot longer. And the same thing is like when I tell you something that doesn't feel like it's correct or you don't really accept it and then it comes through months later, is because I've experienced every possible thing that you can experience in the high ticket sales space. I've had bad offers. I've had times where I didn't think it was going to work out. I've had times where I didn't know how to sell. I've had times where I've been pulled in front of an audience of 50 other sales reps that make 20, 50K a month as the youngest guy in the room to role play and, cock up a role play in front of like 50 people live, right? I've had every experience you can imagine, and I know exactly what's around the bend. I know what's around the corner. I know what's going to happen. But a lot of the guys, again, get distracted by all this stuff that is just super shiny object syndrome. Everything's great, but you have to pick one to two people to listen to in this space because otherwise it's going to become incredibly confusing and you're going to end up delaying your progress by weeks, months, years. But yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to highlight for sure. And so you came in, you got a bunch of different offers, and you work with some really cool people. And I'm not opposed to dropping his name on this podcast because I know he does great things. So Dev, so shout out to Dev. I know you're working with him, so yeah, I heard he's doing some really great stuff, and you're working on some great offers with him. And again, direct application of offer.
Yeah,
Like you've just gone immediately almost 4x your income, by the way, in
that's
90
crazy when you think
days,
about it.
which is crazy, right? Because
Yeah,
you were already decently good at sales, and I knew that. And I was like, dude, it's just your offer. I'm telling you, it's just your offer. And then it's just like bang, bang on the right two opportunities. Now, keep in mind, I want to context this. You are working an insane amount of hours to achieve that right now. Like a lot of hours, like working your face off.
100%. Um, at the end of the day, like for me, it wasn't. I could just sit back and make 20 grand a month. Like right now, I could just sit back and make 20 grand a month and just chill. I could do whatever I want. But I've just never been that guy that settles, like to be honest. And it's not for the money. Like for me, it was just building sales skills. Like this whole
Mm,
thing was just to get better and better. I mean, I'm gonna break it like right now because I know there's a whole war in the sales space about offer skills, sales skills.
yeah.
Um, it's such a big one. It makes no sense to me, but it's all offer. It's all
Mm,
offer. And sales
yeah.
skills is a part of the offer. So what I mean by that is when you hop on a really good offer and you're with killers that are doing way better than you naturally just get better at sales. Like just from
Hmm.
watching their calls, doing what they're doing, you just get better and better. You don't need to buy some 20 grand sales training to get good on an offer where you're already top. You're not going to make a lot of money, right? You have to go on offers where people are making 40, 50, 60 grand a month and you're like, oh, wow, I'm clearly doing something wrong. What are they
Hmm.
doing differently?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are in that shiny object syndrome, but also just like being slapped across the face for some reason.
Yep.
Um, and they just fall into that marketing scheme of, oh, you're a bitch or you're not good enough. It just
Yep.
doesn't make any sense to me.
I I can partially understand that because like I was in that mode at some point where I just believed it was the only thing. I was just on that hype train. I was like, yeah. Like if I just get better, I'll make more money. But the instant time I was like, okay, it's actually I more than 2x my income. I went from 10 to 12K a month to 25K a month working 4 hours a day. And I was like, huh, there is actually something to this. And I found out that it very much comes a lot from your offer. And a lot of people will say, well, that's an excuse, or like you just project, like you're already good. Yeah, sure, I was already good. But the thing is, a lot of beginners don't realize that getting good at sales just takes time. And there is no fucking way you can get around that. You just can't. You just cannot. If you're a young guy watching this, you're a young person watching this, understand that the sales training that you get is not going to be a magical bullet. It's the coaching that comes with it, right? It's the person that's behind it that's going to keep teaching and coaching you. And even then, it's going to take time to get better. It just is. Like, you're not going to get better just by learning one reframe, one word track, one objection handle, all this type of stuff, right? It's not just the one singular thing, it's holistically getting better. And that just takes time, that takes repetition, and that takes conversations, right? That's just it.
100%. I agree. Like, for example, working with Dev and working with my other offer owner, because I'm working two offers at the same time,
Mm, yeah.
both life changing. The
Yeah.
amount of just sales skills that they have, funnily enough, they don't have sales coaching, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you actually have to hop
Right.
on good offers
Crazy.
to learn sales. But most people just don't even realize because it's not out there. I didn't know until I actually found a good offer that there's a lot better sales training and good offers because they're doing good for a reason, clearly. And my sales skills from 0 to 10 grand a month and from
Mm,
10 to 20 grand a month
yeah.
and 20 to 30 grand a month was exponentially growing. Like in the last month, I think I've had more growth than I've had in my like 11 months of sales.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went from good to like, okay, I can pretty much close any any prospect if I really think about it.
Mm,
Unless it's like that's a big statement, but most of the time, right? It's a lot
yeah.
better than when I started off with where I'm like doing some hypey reframes, injection handling, like you said, holistic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually understanding sales to the fundamental. It's not just objection handling, mastering them, boxing them into a corner until you get an outcome. Yeah, it's
Mm.
just really understanding it properly. And a lot of people don't get it.
I think I want to highlight in that as well is what I talk about all the time is like, if you get a good offer, right? If you get a good offer with a proven company, with a proven sales process, if someone's making the money that you want to make, you just have to trace their steps and reverse engineer it. It's actually that
Literally.
simple. Like,
So
I
easy.
remember I've talked about this story multiple times, but when I worked on an 8-figure offer, the worst guy was making 23K a month. The best was making like 50 to 60K US a month. And all you had to do if you really wanted to is like look at the top guy. What is he doing? Unless there's some weird situation where the leads are being divvying it up like different tier system or whatever. If they've got the same leads as you know that it's just a difference in sales skill, difference in process. And if you just look at what they're saying they're doing, you can just replicate it. And that's why I say getting a good offer and focusing a lot of your time on that. Sure, your sales skills are important and you should focus on getting better at that. Absolutely. I don't deny you should be obsessed with getting better. But you can literally get your one conversation away, your one offer away from completely changing your life. Completely changing your life. Just like it has for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a very good point. I've always stuck to that mentality where you look at the top guy, no ego. What the hell is he doing? I need to do
Yeah.
better. The amount of people that I see that jump on offers and they ask me, what are you doing differently? Because I've always been on the top of the leaderboards on my offers, especially if I'm actually taking that offer full time as well.
Mm,
Like I just recently joined the offer where the top closer's been there for 8, like 10, that's his whole offer, like for his whole sales career. And he's been top every single month. And they've had a bunch of sales and they haven't gotten to where he's at. So I hopped on
hmm
1 week late into the month and I went, okay, cool. What is he doing that's making him top? Just replicated that word for word, got to where he is. And I'm like, okay, now I can start implementing my own stuff. And then I
Yeah.
actually overtook him just for having like 1 week less, purely because I was looking at what did he do differently. And after you get to there, you go, okay, who's better than the top rep? The founder himself. Okay, cool. What's the founder doing differently? Like that mindset works not just in sales, but just in life. Like I'm looking at
Yeah.
yourself, Connor. I'm like, okay, what is Connor doing differently to get to
hmm
100 grand a month? Or what is he
hmm
doing to get to that 6 figures a month level? And what do I need to do to put myself in that position?
Exactly right. And that's
Yeah.
cheeky little plug. That's what we're talking about in the inner circle. Right. It's not just about 3xing your commissions in the next 6 months. It's also building and developing you into the person that can achieve the things that you want because you want to start your own business eventually. All the other members inside the RSA inner circle do. And I'm aware of that. And I've gone through the experience from working in retail to going to high ticket sales, making good money, starting my own other business with an agency that I absolutely hated, and then now starting the RSA. I know what that looks like. I've done that. And so the whole purpose of that is to not only help you 2, 3x your commissions, which is great, and it was amazing, but also develop you guys for the next stage of building your own businesses because that's what you guys want to do, right? What does the structure look like? How do you do fulfillment? How do you do marketing? How do you do sales? All that type of stuff. What are the key things you need to know heading into that new arena? Whether it is partnering with other businesses and leveraging your current skill set to make more money through management or different leadership roles, or you consult a business with the newfound skills you have and take a cut, an equity of profit share, or again, you start your own offer. There really is limitless possibilities. Once you get good at that core skill of sales, like you said, the rest just kind of just opens up to you. Because if you understand how to sell, you understand how to market, you understand how to fulfill, you can infinitely print money. And to a lot of the new guys listening to this, beginners to online space, will think that sounds crazy. But I can tell you from personal experience, that's exactly how I've gone through it. And that's exactly how I'm teaching the guys inside my RSA in a circle, which, again, for even further context, you're only allowed to enter into that training program. So you come in the RSA as a beginner, you get to 10K consistently. You're only allowed to be considered for that training program once you are doing 10K a month consistently. You have to do that as a pre-entry requirement. And even then, have to make sure that we vibe very well and that we'd work very well together in that little tight-knit circle because we've got a great little group going on there. One of them as well, I won't say who, but they're going to be on an offer where like an 18-year-old's making like 25K a month. So they're probably going to be doubling their commissions real soon. So there'll be a case study probably coming out real soon with that as well. And the other members just at the cusp of getting a really good offer as well. So I'm super excited for the future of that part of the training program, developing and teaching you guys those skills.
Yeah. And like, just put that in the context, like,
Mm,
if you're in the RSA or even if you're outside of the RSA, just don't join. Like surprised my mind. Like in a circle, like it's close, it's tight knit, and it boggles my mind when people don't join in a circle. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like you
mm,
literally got from 0 to 10K thanks to Connor, and now you're gonna go, nah, I'm just gonna chill. Like I don't know, that just blows my mind. Honestly, like if you like that, just don't join because you're not gonna get to where you want to be at the end of the day. It's just better for all of us. So, because like you
yeah,
mentioned, it's not even about making money. Like you genuinely want to help people, and if we have the
yeah.
wrong type of people coming into inner circle, then it just ruins the whole thing. So
Exactly. Like I already make the money that I want. It's fine. I don't care. Like it's good. I'm not really that bothered by an extra like an extra client or an extra sale here or there. Like it doesn't make a big difference. Yeah, it'd be cool, be nice, but money's great. That's fun. But like what I mean, people can probably obviously tell of how passionate I am about this topic. I just love helping you guys with this. Like it's fun, it's fulfilling, seeing you guys 2, 3x commissions, developing you for the next stage that I had no one to help me with again through that transitional stage. Like I had started from scratch, I had to figure it out my own. To really kind of help you guys go through that transition is fun. I enjoy it. And we have some really, really cool conversations in that little tight knit circle. So I'm keen to see how that develops, especially after this as well. So super, super cool. And so if we were to kind of give the guys some golden nuggets, what do you feel has been some of your biggest learnings over the last year, holistically, from going from, 0 to 37K a month?
that's a very good question. Um, Number one is just focus on inputs. That's it. Just
Mm,
focus on inputs. The amount of people that I see that get into the space or even an online business and they spend 2 weeks or they spend like a month or two and they're like, oh, didn't make any money. It's not for me.
yeah.
Like with that mindset, you're not going to get far, right? So it's about doing the work, especially when you don't feel like it, but especially when you're not even seeing results, right?
Mm,
So only focusing on inputs is one. The second thing is you have to just like outwork everyone. Like you have to understand, like if someone was coming against me, like, and even yourself, Connor, like if someone was coming against you, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm better than you. Like you stand no chance. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming in, I'm dialed in every single hour. My whole life is just online business. My whole life is just thinking about this. You don't stand a chance at all. Compared to someone that's coming in, they're like, oh, I'm gonna block in my little lunch break. I'm gonna go on my little vacations. I'm gonna be a digital nomad traveling around the place. Like you stand no chance, right? Because the competition is just, yeah, I don't feel the competition anymore. I used to
Yep.
feel that before where I'd hop on offers and I'm like, oh wow, this is
Yep.
hard, you know. But now when you hop on, you realize how low the bar actually is when it comes
Mm.
to people's discipline, dedication, mindset. It's really low. That's what
Yeah.
I found as I went from 0 to 37 grand a month. I realized that once you pass 10 grand a month, the bar gets
Mm-hmm.
lower and lower.
Yep.
So that's probably the second thing. And the third thing is you just gotta like listen to people that have already done it. Like you're at
Yeah.
37 grand a month, you're not at a million a month, right? So it's not a lot of money. So to
Mm.
get to that next level, you have to like when you have a mentor, it comes with two things like trust. And when you say something, and even if I think it's wrong, it's
Mm-hmm.
like blindly trusting it. Like you just have to walk the path and kind of like you mentioned to me, like you've had mentors and friends in the past where they tell you something and you trust them so much that you
Mm-hmm.
blindly just follow it,
Yep.
right? And so it's like doing what you tell me to do, even if I think it's wrong, because I know that in the long run it'll work out. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done more and more of that as my income's increased, which is why I got to 37 grand a month really fast. Because if you think about it, I only started actually going from 10 grand a month to 37 grand a month from May. So I think
Mm-hmm.
May was where I hit 15K. And then June, I hit 23K.
Yeah.
And then last month, July, was 37K. It was like 3 months. And in those
90
3 months, what
days.
I do differently, yeah, 90 days. And what I do
Yeah.
differently in those 90 days, I just listen to you more. Everything that you told me, I implemented
Mm.
straight away because I know it's gonna be correct like a couple months down the line. So
I think those are some great takeaways. And something that I really want to push on there is we think very similar in the same of a work ethic perspective.
mm,
Um, you know, every training program I've been a part of, I always said to myself, I'm going to be the best. I will beat everybody. I am going to be on the top. There's nobody that can compete with me. Like, this is the mindset that I've had. This is the mindset that you have. This is a mindset that everybody needs to have that wants to really get success because this is a competitive game. There are people out there that want to take your lunch money. There are people that want this more than you, that have less than you. And for me, I had a burning desire to win. And I knew that I was going to be the most attentive student. I was going to be the best client. I was going to show up. I showed up to every single call possible for years, man. Just
yeah,
as you do yourself, right? You're making 37K a month, yet you come to coaching calls, where there are guys that make less than 5K a month that don't come to coaching calls anymore, right?
it's
You know,
ridiculous.
for years, back in my day, is the way I'd say it, there was a training program called the Closing Code with Matt Ryder and these types of guys. And I have no problem name dropping those guys because they're amazing people and they've helped me so
Yeah,
much throughout my journey. And, I work with coaches like Jimmy uh, and, Dan Van and a lot of these guys that I'll owe a lot of my sales success to and getting better to. But I would show up to 5 role plays every single week. I'd be that one guy that always showed up, put my hand up and said, hey, let me go first. Let me role play. Let me train. Let me get better. Right. I really think that if there's a really key takeaway a lot of people can take from that is you need to have that obsessive attitude. You need to have that work ethic. You need to think that you are the best. You need to think that you're going to outwork everybody because that's where the results come from, right? It's Cash's work ethic. It's my work ethic. It's the willingness to, when there is a will, there is a way. And you need to push through everything else. You need to constantly show up. You need to be the best client. You need to be the best student. Like if you're thinking of coming to RSA, that's exactly the way that you need to be thinking. You need to be thinking, I'm going to beat everybody. I'm going to beat Kashi,
yeah,
right? This is the thought process you need to have. We're not going to shame you for it. Like that's the exact same way that we think. And you need to be putting into an environment where that competitive nature is supported. And if that's you, then sales, high ticket sales, making money online is definitely for you. But if not, then there's no point because you're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually a really good point to touch on that because I've experienced that recently. Is
Mm,
over from 0 to 37 grand a month, like especially on the new offer that I joined, is
mm-hmm.
that I come in and I just set the new standard. And the offer on himself told me that, right? Because the top closer was the top closer for a long time, right? And I came in and pretty much doubled. Like I took half the amount of live calls and just like absolutely crushed it, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
shorter amount of time. And that's just the new standard now. And so he
Yeah.
said, yeah, I thought he wanted it as much as he wanted, but now I see you. It's like, oh, I didn't really realize that you could want it as bad. Like, I really wanted it. Like, there's nothing I can do more than like obsessed with this game, right?
Yeah.
So you set the new standard, and then even more than that is you set yourself impossible standards. So what I mean by that is, that's what I experienced recently is that yeah, cool, my standards here, but I haven't really got to a point or put my in an uncomfortable position now where there's people that are like way better than me, like in my current position. So what I do is I
Mm,
set impossible standards. Okay, what I think is impossible, I just beat it, and then I have a new standard every time. So it's like your income increasing, right? My standard now is okay, 30 grand a month. Okay, my standard now is 40 grand a month, or my
yep.
standard now is this specific close rate. Like you just beat your own impossible standards. So that's like the
Mm-hmm.
next level, I think. But when you're starting off, there's going to be a lot of people that are way better than you. Like
Yep.
your standard should be okay. Let me match them, and let me just set the new standard every time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine. It sounds so easy, but I feel like people don't think it's easy. But when you come in, like there's nothing more I want than to be the best. I can't imagine settling for less. Like people come to the RSA and they ask questions, or they go into coaching programs and they ask questions. Oh, what's the
Mm,
average? What's the average?
yep. Yep.
Expectancy of doing this X Y Z,
Mm-hmm.
and just blows my mind. Like, why'd you ask that? Like,
It's
whenever I
like,
hop on
bro,
anything, yeah, it
you
doesn't
go.
make sense. Whenever I hop on anything, I'm like, what's the top guy doing? Okay, he's
Yep.
doing this. What is he doing differently?
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's doing that. Okay. And like, what are you looking for in terms of like the top guy? How would you beat that? And that's
Mm-hmm.
not coming from like I have a competition. I want to beat everyone. It's coming from a lot of love because I want to get to a point where I can use that as inspiration to get
Yep.
there. And I'm the number one guy. If you come out to me, I'll give you as much advice as you want on what I've done. Like I did that, for example, in Navid, right?
Yep.
Hopping on the offer. Broke down my entire process, and then he had a record day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just had a record day a couple of days ago. So of course, the founder helped out. He hopped on a couple of Zooms with me as well, and I just broke down everything that I did differently. And he was like, okay. But the thing that never did differently is he actually implemented it.
Yes. Yep. And worked his ass off, right? And I said the same
I saw
thing
it
that
in
we're
him.
talking about
Yeah,
now, right? On a coaching call yesterday. I was like, dude, now's the time. You've been working really hard. You made 1K a day. Now's the time to take it up to 20 because this offer can allow you to do that. But
easily.
I think this is not talked about enough as far as like that winner's mentality of I was the exact same and I'm still the same. Like put me up against any marketer. I'll outsell them any day of the week. I'm so confident that I can do that. Right. Look at sales calls on my YouTube channel, compare them with other people. I was the first person to do it because I had the balls to put up my full length sales call, uncut raw, me assessing it in a long style format when nobody else did it. Right. There's a reason why ability. And I thought the exact same thing as you. I said, every offer I'm going to go on, I will beat everybody by a long shot. I know I'm good. I know I work hard, right? I know I'm confident in my skills, my sales ability. I'll wipe the floor with anybody. I just will because I know I'm more dedicated. And I really think for a lot of the guys that are listening, if you want to look at proof of concept, right, guys like myself who've gone from zero working retail to 25K a month to six figures to Kashi from zero door knocking, university degree to making 37K a month, right? Which is only going to increase more and more. Take that same mentality, adopt that same mentality, because in my opinion, that is what separates you from the rest. That's what separates you from the pack.
100%. And it comes down to the values that you taught me in the RSA. Like, I don't think
Mhm.
people realize, like, it's not, I just got there by luck. It came into my mind. You taught me from day one. One of the biggest things that you talk about in the RSA from day one was the founder mentality,
Mm.
right? Stuck with me for a long time. And it only kicked, of course, Connor's always right. It kicked in like a couple months later. I'm like, oh, yeah, I actually have to be that founder mentality and come in and just, you have to. Like you have to set the
Yeah.
new standard. And it
Uh,
was also like you become an asset because the
yeah.
amount of offers that I get now inbound are ridiculous. Like you probably experience the same, Connor. Like
Yeah.
you say you get inbound roles all the time, a lot more than me. And me only getting to hear the amount of inbound roles that come in of, oh, dude, do you want to go on this offer? Do you want to go on this offer? But I'm like, no, these are probably the last two offers I'm ever gonna do. It
Mm-hmm.
just it just sets a new standard because when I come in, I set the new standard and then everyone else just follows and the whole team just increases in terms of cash. That's exactly what happened on this new offer. So it's not just about being a sales rep. Like that's one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to provide some value. You can't just be that guy that, oh, I'm gonna take my calls and just call it a day. Like it
Yeah.
just doesn't make sense to me.
You've got to take it to another level. I would agree.
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to tie the interview off with two final questions. Number one, what has changed for you now? And I know a lot of guys might find this answer unflattering because I have an idea of the answer you're going to give, but what's changed for you now that you're making 37K a month? What's different? What does your life look like? What's changed, if anything?
It's a crazy question because my answer was completely different to what I said when I hit 10 grand.
Mm,
Uh when I hit 37K like this month, it didn't really register in my mind that I hit
yep.
37K. That's the first thing.
Mm,
The first thing that I thought, and you mentioned it, you called me right after I hit 30 grand a month. And I still remember that. Like, that just goes to show, like, Connor literally called me right after. And I was like, oh, dude, you didn't have to. You really
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Um, and you mentioned to me about giving back. And that just made so much sense to me.
Mm,
So what changed is me giving back to my family, for example, like just a week ago, I
mm-hmm.
paid for my family, all everything expenses, everything included, villa, flights to go out to Bali for a week. Because
Mm,
my parents have never been on a proper holiday where they don't have to worry about money at all. And that was a
yeah.
really big goal that I had for a long time. And I'm sure a lot of people, when you're like 18, 19, 20,
Yeah.
have very similar
Dream.
goals. Yeah, it was a dream for me as well. And so when I did that, um, yeah, it was a big moment for me to actually do that. So that's
Mm,
really what changed, just giving back more, helping out my parents even more, and also knowing that I'll never have to worry about money ever again.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you don't have to worry. Even if I'm in Australia, whatever country I'm in, like I wouldn't really have to worry about money at
Mm,
all. And also, you find that you start thinking less and less about money. That's the
yeah.
unflattering answer. Like, I haven't really gone out and bought in designer clothes,
Yeah.
um, cars. I'm thinking of selling my car. Sorry, not even thinking of buying a new one. Like
Yeah.
everything just tones down, and you start thinking about, okay, cool. What's the next step? Like, what do I really want to do? And it goes less from money goals to more like purposeful goals. And what do you really
Yes.
want to achieve? Because money just becomes like a tool. And I think you said
Mhm.
this, Connor, again, is you don't want to work for the money needs to work for you. And that's kind of what I'm transitioning into now. That's what's changed for me. The
I
ability
think.
to just go and travel and stay in the nicest places or stay in really good places that I wouldn't have been able to stay in before.
Mm.
And just do whatever I want whenever I want. That's really what's changed.
That's massive. And the thing I really want to touch on there with the purpose thing is that the reason why I think the RSA has done so well, and a few people have told me this in discussion, which is I've never set out to make this a hundreds of thousands of dollars a month training program. I've never set out to make multiple millions of dollars a year. I've never set out to do anything like that. The whole purpose of building this was that this is everything that I wish I had 5 years ago, right? From that young 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid who was just trying to make money online. This is that. This is what I've built. And this is why I thoroughly enjoy doing what I do. And I'm not, we've talked about this multiple times again, I think publicly and privately as well. It's just that it's so purpose driven. Like to be able to give back to you guys and help you guys get to where I wish I could have been way earlier. Right? It took me 4 years to get to 25K a month. It took you 1 year to get to 37. Right? There's nothing cooler than that. And to see you guys speed up that progress way faster than I ever could is more fulfilling than anything. An extra X per month is not going to really change my life. It's more or less being able to help you from the most fundamental level from a skills perspective, help you make more money, but also holistically as well, right? Personally, professionally, all that type of stuff. Like that's really at a high level where you get your kick from. classic question I get asked on sales calls all the time, and sales reps do as well, which is, why are you doing this? If you're so good at X, Y, and Z, like, why are you telling people your secret? This is why.
Yeah.
Because this skill changed my life. It's changed Kashi's, and it will continue to change hundreds of other people's lives. It's just about whether or not they're willing and ready to take my hand and actually trust and have faith in me to actually follow the steps.
Yeah. No, exactly. Makes sense. I agree.
And so, if I was going to ask you one final question, bro, I think a lot of people will be thinking he's making 37K a month, right? He's made life, right? That's what a lot of people would be thinking right now. What are your next steps? Like, what are your goals? What do you want to do now? What does your future actually look like for Kashi?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, my things hasn't changed. Like I got into the space to learn. I got
Mm,
in the space to learn the skills and knowledge required so that I know 10 years down the line that I'll be very, very successful. Right. And I know my only advantage that I had, a really big advantage, was that I started when I was 18. I started
yeah.
as early as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have that again, I have that with me right now. And so I know if I spend the next 4 or 5 years developing my skill sets, knowledge, so sales is one thing which I'm nowhere near mastering it, but I'm
Yeah,
getting pretty good at it. So
you are.
sales, and
Mm,
then marketing is something that I want to focus on, focusing on leadership, focusing on fulfillment, learning all these evergreen skills so that
mm,
when I do launch my own business, whether it's coaching, whether it's online, whether it's physical, anything, I have the fundamental skills to do whatever I want, and build something off the ground that I can call my own. That was my whole goal from the get go. So I think for me, it hasn't really changed. So 37 grand a month is good, right? I can live life, but I have a lot more bigger goals. I'm thinking more long term, like probably 10 years down the line. If you ask about immediate goals,
mm,
uh, that's funny because I always thought about money goals before,
mm,
but now I don't think about hitting 40 grand a month, 50 grand a month. But yeah, I'd probably be on track to do 40 grand this month and probably 50 grand the month after. And then after that, I haven't really thought further than 50 grand a month, to be honest, in terms of income. I've more
mm.
thought about skills and starting something properly.
Yeah, coming to Dubai, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, actually, that left my mind because that's the only thing that's been on my mind and I forgot to tell it. But yeah,
Yeah.
coming to Dubai, that's actually a big one. Because
Mm,
for me, I know that the only place that I grow is out of my comfort zone.
yeah.
And right now, making 37 grand a month, living with my parents, it's pretty comfortable, right? I've never had to pay rent in my life, which is why when I come to Dubai and hopefully meet Econnor, like it'd be
Mm,
really sick to be surround myself with people that are like way above my level. Like I wouldn't even be able to fathom what that would look like. So having that, I'd feel like a really small fish in the ocean, and I think I'll just rise like I have when I put myself in uncomfortable positions. That's the main reason. So hopefully going there before the end of this year or around
hmm.
like New Year's time.
Super exciting, bro. Very cool.
Oh yeah.
And if you were to give the guys some final notes, if there's any, is there any final things you wanted to say before we tie off the interview today?
I mean, my final thoughts is like this is what it takes to run a business. This is what it
Hmm.
takes to be successful. Like you have to understand, like we have no incentive. Like whether you join RSA or not, it does not make a difference. It really
Nope.
doesn't, bro. Like, I mean, you'll be the first person to say it doesn't make a difference at all.
Nope.
Um, like you have much bigger plans as well, right? Like you have
Exactly.
all these goals as well. It doesn't make a difference at all. Like at the end of the day, this is more become of like a passion project at this point,
Yep. Very
to
much
get
so.
people to where they want to be. And if you, after seeing all this, like you've seen my last interview, you've seen me going from 7 grand and you've seen me go from 37 grand and you just stayed on the sidelines this whole time watching me build my dream and you still haven't gone all in, then probably business isn't even for you, to be honest. If I'm being real, I know that's like a slap in the face, but it's something that you probably needed at this point. So if you're still thinking about it and you're on the fence, you're just not born to win. Like, you're just not going to win. Like, I'm just going to be continuing on over the fence. And you're going to be watching and spectating on the sideline. Same with Connor. You're going to be winning and going ahead. And you either win or lose, right? And you got to choose not 1 week later, 2 weeks later, but you got to choose now what you want to do so that when you look back at this 2, 3 years from now, you know that you've made the best decision possible for your future self.
Bang on. Bang on. Very wise words. Very wise words. So, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that interview. I know it was a bit of a long one, but given the case, 0 to 37K a month. I think a lot of people will definitely watch it to the end. Unless especially the guys that are interested, which I know a lot of people are. So yeah, guys, fantastic interview. Hopefully you enjoyed it and got some amazing takeaways. And yeah, guys, I guess we'll see you in the next one.